We're really excited about how much the development communities responded.
Iowa City's south side of town sees some major growth. The city has a new program that can give food waste a new purpose. Plus, a new police program offers a big incentive for kids.
It's a win-win for everybody.
And lastly, learn what Super Veggie is the secret weapon for combating slippery roads. And it all starts right now on this edition of Iowa City in Focus. Iowa City is one of the fastest growing areas in the Hawkeye State. And while expansion can be found on all sides of town, it's down south that years of development planning are paying off in a big way.
It all started, of course, after the flood of 2008, and we really need to rethink our relationship with the Iowa River.
Among the many areas impacted by the historic flood was the south part of town, now known as the Riverfront Crossings District. Included among the area's most devastating losses was the city's wastewater treatment plant. Like many areas along the Iowa River, it was evident that changes needed to be made.
It was an opportunity for us to, after a major disaster, to look again at this area and see what it could become in the future.
Even prior to the flood, the city had begun plans to extend downtown south of Burlington Street. After the waters had receded, the idea behind the redevelopment began with repurposing that city land into a wetland park. Grants at both the state and federal level helped fund studies and collect feedback.
We've heard from people over and over is they want to be able to get to the water's edge. This park will provide it in two ways, both at Ralston Creek and eventually the Iowa River.
The plans for that park will soon become a reality, with phase 1 of construction set to begin at the end of the summer. A big push to make the area more walkable and bike-friendly also had a big impact on the park.
Phase 1 includes trail connections that will allow access through the park through paved trails, the wetlands area, and then some new connections to the east side, which is redeveloping.
And the excitement of the park has helped spur development around the area.
And I think the planning for the new Riverfront Park has been really a catalyst for a lot of things happening that are new in that south part of Iowa City.
That includes the recently opened Big Grove Brewery, which I got a chance to tour during the late stages of construction.
Been seeing what Iowa City is going to be doing with the area, with the bike trails and everything that are going to be coming over here. So really kind of made it the perfect spot. We can get down on the ground floor before everything changes and hopefully bring some more people down here.
As many of you know, Big Grove's original home is 15 miles north in Solon. But Danny and the other investors see something special in the Riverfront Crossings District.
This is kind of the part of town that needs it right now. Iowa City is growing, and I think that we're really developing as a community with wanting more things I think that we're going to be bringing here.
The brewery was built in an existing building on South Gilbert Street, which provides a ton of space to expand its brewing capacity.
What we were able to do in Solon was, last year was about 1,200 barrels. This will have the capability of doing about 10,000.
Stanley says they don't see the lack of parking as a big problem and are encouraging customers to come on foot and bike to spend time outdoors.
We're going to have a kids' play area out back. Once the lawn goes in, really inviting people to throw down a blanket and just relax. Throw the Frisbee around our patio, and the lawn is all going to be dog-friendly.
And the interest extends beyond the brewery.
The location's always intrigued me.
Randy Miller, a local developer, says he has been watching the Riverfront Crossings area for years now.
And I became much more involved when the city started the demolition of the wastewater, and I knew actually something was going to happen with the park.
On the south side of the brewery, demolition will soon begin on the former Pleasant Valley Garden Center. In its place will be what is called a mixed-use building, with commercial space on the bottom and apartments on the top 2 floors. Again, it's the development of the park that sold Miller and his partners.
So when we're looking at building the neighborhood and drawing people to this, we want an area that has amenities, and what better amenity than a large park.
On the north side of the brewery, the plan is to develop 4 apartment buildings in the next 5 years, with construction beginning in 2018. These types of projects were made possible through the city's form-based code, which was developed over the course of several years of public meetings and community feedback.
That has really resulted in a lot of new development projects that are going on right now. You can see a lot of cranes in Riverfront Crossings right now, a lot of new buildings going up, some buildings that have already been built.
A big idea behind the code was to provide a variety of development in the area.
2 new hotels going up, Class A office building in Riverfront Crossings. Over 1,000 apartments are either have been constructed or in the planning stages in Riverfront Crossings, and we expect even more than that in the future.
It's an idea that has been discussed for years by city leaders, providing an extension of the downtown area south of Burlington Street. And while it's still in the early stages of development, it is evident that builders see the same future of the Riverfront Crossings District.
We're hoping to have a very walkable, livable neighborhood that's close to where people work and where people shop downtown.
The Iowa City landfill takes in around 125,000 tons of trash each year. About 15% of that is made up of food waste. That's a number the city wants to see drop dramatically with the help of a new curbside compost program.
It takes about a year, and we turn the compost once a month. We take the temperatures regularly, we check the moisture content. It's just like you would do in your backyard, except we can take a lot more material.
The landfill has been making and selling commercial compost for several years now. The long, slow process of breaking down yard waste, leaves, and food is what helps create a rich, nutrient-packed product.
It's really good for gardens, it's good for topping off yards if you have a bare spot in your yard or if you're planting trees. Pretty much anything you'd use a low-grade fertilizer for can be used, the compost can be used for that.
But the biggest impact that composting can have is keeping food waste from ending up here.
A lot of what goes into the Iowa City landfill is food waste. It's actually the #1 item that goes in. It's about 15% of what goes into the Iowa City landfill every year, so it's about 18,000 tons.
Not only is putting food waste in the landfill impractical, but it also costs the city more money. And it's not just the city's budget that can benefit from reducing food waste.
So there's a huge opportunity there to reduce the amount of stuff going into the landfill and to save money for households as well, that they're not just literally throwing away.
Jordan says the best thing you can do is look at your shopping and eating habits to reduce your household food waste. It's a problem that can have a profound financial and environmental impact. Even the most responsible people create food waste, though, and that's where the Curbside Compost program comes into play.
So we can take pretty much anything for food waste. If it's food or food related and it doesn't have plastic or aluminum foil, anything like that, or plastic wrap, it can go in with food waste.
Not only can you compost fruits and vegetables, but that also includes any peelings, cores, or pits. Meat and seafood are welcome, as well as bones, shells, or any spoiled leftovers. Coffee filters, napkins, and pizza boxes, good to go. Some common things that are not accepted include styrofoam, foil, or plastic. No saran wrap or cellophane, and also no coated paper plates. If you have an item that you aren't sure about, don't compost it until you can check to make sure it's okay. All of the items that are deemed acceptable for compost can simply be mixed in with yard waste. Each person is responsible for providing the receptacle and purchasing the annual yard waste sticker.
The food waste can go right in with the yard waste into the 35-gallon yard waste containers with an annual sticker, and they do have to weigh less than 50 pounds because they will be physically picked up by staff at the curb.
Along with providing the bin, you will also have to keep it clean. Jordan suggests wrapping the food in newspaper to keep it from making too much of a mess. Your container of yard and food waste can be set out on your regular trash and recycling collection day.
So that stuff will all be picked up at the curb. It'll go out to the city's commercial compost facility at the landfill, and it'll be composted right alongside the yard waste and the leaves and the grass clippings, all the stuff that we already compost and have been composting for a long time.
The process is simple, and so is the end result. Reducing the amount of food that goes into our landfill benefits us all. It's good for the environment and can also help save money. So what are you waiting for? Start composting today. The Iowa City Police Department works closely with youth in an effort to build a positive relationship. Those efforts could be bolstered with a new program that gives kids the opportunity to get a new set of wheels.
So what time are we gonna do that?
Henry Harper is a community service officer with the Iowa City PD. He works closely with youth on a daily basis.
Once you know that name, you can't forget that name.
He and fellow officer David Schwint have been working on an idea for some time now.
Educate some kids and families about how to ride bikes safely, and what better way to do that than create some sort of program so we can help them understand the safety aspect, and if they complete the program, they can actually have an opportunity to get a bike.
You see, the police department ends up with a lot of bikes. Bikes are impounded for a variety of reasons. Some are stolen and simply left along the road or in a yard.
We also get complaints about abandoned and disabled bicycles in bike racks that haven't moved for a long time. And so we have a city ordinance that allows us to go in, and after those bikes are there for an extended period of time, clean out those bike racks to make them available for people to use more on a daily basis.
The bikes are tagged and put into a database. Police also post notice in the newspapers every time a bike is impounded with the hopes of finding its owner.
Unfortunately, we don't get the chance to return a lot of them, so they just kind of stay as they are here for 90 days.
After 90 days, the previous city ordinance gave police two options.
One is by auction, and the second is to donate it to a nonprofit organization that benefits the citizens of Johnson County, Iowa. And that's where the Iowa City Bike Library comes in.
The department hasn't auctioned off bikes for years because it wasn't worth the amount of time and effort it took. So after a bike goes 90 days of being unclaimed, it goes to the bike library where it will be repaired and rented back out into the community. It's a great relationship that continues to flourish, but Officer Schwint and Harper wanted to streamline a way to get some kids access to bikes.
So now as we start working with this youth program, we'll be able to bring the kids in and have them look through here at all the unclaimed bicycles and pick one that they like.
City Council just approved this third option, and the plan is to have the program running in just a couple of months.
We'll work with the kids this summer on safe riding habits, and it gives us that great one-on-one time between the police department and some youth that otherwise we may never have contact with.
That's where Henry comes back in. He will help run the 4-week program this summer, and he doesn't want kids or parents to be mistaken. This isn't a handout. Kids will have to earn that bike.
So we don't plan on giving them a bike and forgetting about them. We want to give them a bike and stay in contact with them all summer to make sure they're having a good time and they're being safe. And if I see a kid riding a bike like without his helmet or without his stuff, then just for me to stop him and say, hey, look, hey, that's not the plan.
In its first year, 15 kids will be able to take part in the program. The city will work with the school department and local organizations to develop an enrollment process. Those selected will take 4 weeks of classes.
Teach these kids the value of having a bike, owning a bike, and some safety stuff like how to change a tire, how to fix the chain, how to put a light on there.
And they aren't kidding around about the safety aspect. Parents must sign a contract at the end of the 4 weeks promising to make sure their kids follow safety guidelines, including wearing a helmet. But Henry has a trick up his sleeve to combat the problem of getting kids to wear helmets.
So the fun part about it for the kids can be able to design their own helmet, so their helmet become cool. So a lot of kids see them in their helmets and they say, oh, I want one of those too. Now you got kids in helmets. So I'm kind of looking forward to showing people that a lot of kids can wear helmets if you just present it to them in a way where they feel they're making that decision.
Once a child has selected a bike, World of Bikes has agreed to help make sure the bike is safe to ride. For owner Ryan Baker, it was a no-brainer to get involved.
Just seeing kids on bikes. If we can get to kids early, hopefully we turn them into lifelong cyclists.
Baker knows what it means as a kid to have a bike of your own.
It's the freedom, that being able to go to school, go to the pool, go to a friend's house, whatever it is, and be able to hop on a bike and ride. I just remember that from being a kid.
A grant secured by the police department will pay for any parts needed, such as lights, chains, or locks. For youth who would never be able to afford this luxury, it can open up new doors to the Iowa City community.
We have a great community, a bikeable community here. You can get anywhere in Iowa City on a bike for the most part 15, 20 minutes. So it's a great opportunity to help kids, especially start with kids and families, to let them know that, hey, you can ride just about anywhere in Iowa City on a bike.
It's also a chance for police to continue developing a positive relationship with youth.
So now we have a lot of communication, so now we can have the community we all want. But this fear and finger pointing and blame, I just like to get away from that. So I'm hoping I can play a part in that, just get people to just listen.
For Henry, this program provides another extension to create that dialogue with kids.
Opportunity to change the perception of how people see and look at one another. And we've done a great job with that so far. And I'm proud to be doing this job, and I'm hoping I'm helping make a difference.
Even though winter is wrapped up for the year, the Iowa City Streets Division is already stocking up for the next winter. And part of that process is to lace the salt with a product that you could find at your local grocery store.
A typical year, we're using 3,000 to 3,500 tons of salt. This year we were probably at about 2,200.
A slow winter means less salt to replace in preparation for the next snow season.
We're late on our second delivery because we've had an easy winter.
Still, at 750 tons, it's no small haul. But it's not the amount of salt that may surprise people, it's what they spray onto it.
We're treating our salt with beet juice and loading it in our building with a conveyor.
You heard John correctly, beet juice.
There's hoses that are built into the conveyor it's spraying the salt at the top of the conveyor as it's coming off the conveyor into the pile.
Now that we know how they apply it, let's take a look at why beet juice is being used.
The beet juice, what it does, it keeps the pile workable. The piles get so large, all that weight, it kind of compresses the pile together.
Another reason, John explained, is because it reduces the scatter of salt when being spread by city trucks.
It just keeps the salt from spreading and flying off the roadway. It kind of keeps it where it hits the road, it keeps it there.
Apparently, it also makes the salt more effective in colder temperatures as well.
Straight rock salt is effective down to about 15 degrees. Beet juice is supposed to help lower that a little bit more, so when we get those really cold days after a snow, we hope that it will continue the melting process to help clear the roads.
So for several hours, loaders pour giant bucket after giant bucket into a conveyor belt that brings the salt to an eventual shower of purple juice. And while doctors may praise the health benefits of the beet, the Iowa City Streets Division applauds the vegetable for its help in spreading safety.
So it's a 100% organic product.
And if you ask John for a weather prediction for next winter, you may not like his guess.
We certainly enjoy the easier winters. We find other things to keep us busy. But just remember, all winters aren't going to be like this, and we're probably going to be due for more of a normal or even a heavier winter.
But you can feel a little safer on the roads, knowing that the salt street crews are spreading is coated with a secret weapon. Coming up next month on Iowa City in Focus, we'll take a look at a food rescue organization that is delivering over 40,000 pounds of food each week. And let us know what topics you would like to see covered in future shows. Send us an email at info@citychannel4.com or reach us on Facebook by liking the City of Iowa City government page. Have a great April. We'll see you next month on Iowa City in Focus.